You're listening to Epic Footnote Productions. Go to Linktree/Epic Footnote for links to all of our streaming platforms, YouTube channel, social media pages, and merch site. That's linktr.ee/Epic Footnote.
Hey everyone, what's going on? It's a very special edition of If You Have to Pick 3. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
This is our Pick 3 show. Obviously, Zach gets a list, I get a list. But in this very special episode, this is the yearly one that we do about one of your favorite topics, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We fight it out for 2 final top 3 lists in this one. If you have not heard, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, kind of on the hush this year, released their list of nominees. And dare I say, this is probably the most exciting list that they've had in quite a while.
It really is, to the point that I know I kind of say this a lot in the past, but I am actually struggling this year with who I would pick for either list, which I'll explain more about in a minute. But every name and act on this list makes perfect sense to be in the Hall of Fame in one way or another. Even, those who are not really rock and you go, oh, that's not rock. No, it's like, no. They should be in the Hall of Fame. In fact, if you haven't heard the list of nominees for this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, let me just remind you what it is. We got Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey, Cher, Dave Matthews Band, which I know is really making Matt excited, Eric B. and Rakim, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Jane's Addiction, Kool in the Game, Lenny Kravitz, Oasis, Sinead O'Connor, Ozzy Osbourne, Sade, and A Tribe Called Quest. It's a few names even there, you're like, oh man, holy crap, they aren't, like, Cher and Peter Frampton, like, oh, they're really not in the Hall of Fame yet? Wow. Without revealing too much of what we're about to go into on either of our lists, but like, you literally look at this list, you're like, wow, no, that's a freaking heavy hitter list that, like, go in any direction, whether you even like these artists or not. Like, you understand why they're getting nominated for one of the most controversial, as Matt started to tease, institutions in pop culture and music, which maybe is a good little segue, Matt, before we start kind of getting into our picks and opinions. A little tradition I like to do when we talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I was waiting for this.
John Mulaney, one of my favorite comedians, back in 2018, did an interview with Rolling Stone about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because he made some headlines about how he shared some funny, bits about the Hall of Fame during an interview with Seth Meyers. He made a point to talk about how, he doesn't take that, oh, rock, why is it, why are these pop bands or hip hop getting into the Hall of Fame? It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, he doesn't believe that other genres don't belong in the Hall of Fame. He even says, that's like saying, let's have a medicine Hall of Fame, but only up to penicillin. You're gonna run out of people extremely fast. Rock means pop music that pushes the envelope being parents, suits, teachers, and the powers that be. Rock is a state of mind. And you look at the list for nominees of 2024, and yeah, all of these acts in some way, shape, or form encompass the state of mind of rock and roll in some way. Like, even Mariah Carey, as much as, like, people are going to be like, if I have to hear All I Want for Christmas Is You one more time during the holidays.
Wait, she did that song? No.
We talk about it in another episode of If You Have to Pick 3. But as we talked about before, this is one of the rare If You Have to Pick 3 episodes where we do 2 lists. Because, of course, we can talk about who we think should get into the Hall of Fame, who we think, out of all these nominees, they are the ones that deserve to get into the Hall of Fame the most. Maybe it's even criminal that they aren't in the Hall of Fame already. But then we also know that it's a bit, I don't want to say political game, but there's a game involved in who gets nominated. And definitely sometimes artists get inducted for different reasons, or
I don't like playing this game.
Yeah, I know. But like, sometimes you go, what the hell is the Hall of Fame thinking? But then there's all the times where you're like, okay, I see what they're doing here. Like, there's those who you go, all right, if I have to bet in Las Vegas, these are the ones that I would say have the best shots in getting to the Hall of Fame. With that said, I want to say the past 2-3 years, I'd say that it wasn't always, there's definitely been a few surprises. Last year, definitely, I felt like was a few surprises, pleasant surprises. But with that said, we're going to be doing 2 lists first, we're going to talk about the three artists that Matt and I think should get into the Hall of Fame this year, maybe before the others who are nominated. And then the three who we think have the best chances, who will most likely actually get inducted. With that in mind, Matt, would you like to go first and share your pick three of who you think should get into the Hall of Fame? Or is there anything you wanted to touch on before we even get into the list?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to call out about the list is that there's somebody missing this year.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's somebody missing.
Who do you think's missing?
Iron Maiden.
Oh, come on.
What?
Hold on. Now
this could have been the year. This could have been the year.
Listen, I love Iron Maiden, but I've said in the past, as much as I love Iron Maiden and no doubt have no question of the influence that they've had on music in general, I always get a little, and you're going to hear me get a little hypocritical in a little bit, I think, but they've made it very clear that they actually don't have interest in it. So I'm not completely surprised. And also, it's actually very rare. We've talked about this in the past too, how it really doesn't make sense that the list of nominees changes so drastically every year. That, like, why wouldn't, if you didn't get inducted last year, why don't you just get pushed over to the next year and eligible for then? Like, why is it not a sure thing for you to get back on the nominee list or not on the ballot? I don't know the number offhand, but like A Tribe Called Quest, they've been now nominated numerous times and keep missing it. And I don't think it's consistent. It might be every other year, but I'm not surprised that Iron Maiden's missing on the list because they were nominated last year. That's all I'll say about that. But I think it sounds like you still feel like they should be the ones inducted most.
I think that they should at least have a shot. I think that they've done enough in their career to warrant still having, the nominee. Like, even if they don't get in, nominate them.
All right. Well,
but I digress.
You digress. Well, I guess before we even go into our picks, is there an act here that shocked you or surprised you the most that they were nominated?
That surprised me the most. I think the one that I kind of was like, huh. I think there were two. I brought one up to you, Jane's Addiction. I kind of felt like maybe they had some influential members in their band, but the band as a whole, I don't know if it's Hall of Fame worthy.
I am going to refrain from responding because I'm afraid I'll be giving away a little bit too much of my pick.
I think cough, you already
cough,
did.
Hint, hint. Cough, cough, hint, hint.
And the other band on here is Oasis.
Yeah, I was surprised. Them and Lenny Kravitz surprised me most. Not because I'm like, oh, they got nominated, but more of a, oh, yeah, no, they're eligible. I'm old.
I think on the success of one, maybe two albums, and then subsequently tarnishing rock and roll. I would say disrespecting rock and roll in one form and tarnishing it in another way. They're like very iffy.
Wait, are you saying that you're not picking Oasis as one of your should get in? Because I actually thought that was going to be a shoo-in for you.
No.
You named What's the Story, Morning Glory as one of the best albums in 1995.
Yeah. You can name any album from any year as your favorite album of that year. That doesn't mean that they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well,
there's definitely been bands that have gone into the Hall of Fame just on one album. Cough, Sex Pistols, cough. Just throwing that out there. But I digress. I am just surprised. I thought you would have defended Oasis.
No, like the Sex Pistols, people have cited them over 20, 30 years at this point that, they've been influenced by the Sex Pistols. I don't think there's very many bands that have said that they've been influenced by Oasis.
I do. I don't know if I agree with that one.
You can disagree with all you want.
I'm not saying I have a laundry list of bands who would cite them, but I think a lot of the alt-rock hipster bands that are out there today, whether they like to admit it or not, were definitely influenced by songs like Champagne Supernova and Wonderwall. I mean,
man, it's like you listen to one album and that's it.
I mean, sometimes all you need is one album. That's all I'm saying. But
sometimes all you need is love.
That has nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does.
Not really.
They said that they were bigger than the Beatles, and that
Well,
No, no, don't
fair.
do that. Don't do that. All right.
Anyway, so how
So
about let's go
get
into
into it.
who we think should get into the Hall of Fame. Let's start with that list first. So Matt, go ahead, kick us off with the three artists on this list that you think should, more so than the other nominees listed, should be in the Hall of Fame first.
Well, you kind of alluded to it earlier. I'm just going to go right into it. It was on my list last year. Number one is the Dave Matthews Band. I mean, these guys.
Well, not last year, the year before.
Was it the year before? I don't know. I'm mixing up years.
It's been a few years. You also, before we did it like by each year, when we just said who should be inducted in the Hall of Fame, regardless of what year it is, you named Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this a lot for the artists that I'm going to mention, is that they've pretty much done it all at this point. Just many, many time platinum selling artists, tons of philanthropy work. Their music is like the world over influential. I mean, there's no reason why the Dave Matthews Band at this point in time shouldn't be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And if that's not enough, they did have a flavor of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. So, I mean, if that's not enough to get you into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't know what is.
I don't know why that makes me laugh so much. I will say...
It's funny because it's true.
Two things in defense of Dave Matthews Band. The year after we did that episode I was talking about where we just named artists that should be inducted, regardless of year, they were up for nomination for Rock Hall and actually won the fan vote that year, and yet still didn't get inducted, which set a really bad precedence for like, okay, then what's the point of the fan vote? Another thing I want to point out, so when they announced the nominees this year for 2024, I was having lunch with my parents. Actually, I've always loved talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and who should be and who shouldn't. So I was naming the list, and much to my surprise, there was one artist that my dad in particular was like, "What? No," which I'll share later. And then when I mentioned Dave Matthews Band, they're like, "Wait, is this the first year that they're eligible?" I'm like, "No, it's not." And they're like, "How are they not in the Hall of Fame already? They're so influential." I'm like, "Dad, since when did you even know who Dave Matthews was? Like, what?" So, if you ask my dad, David Shaw, he would agree with you, Matt. That's all I'm saying.
Well, your dad is a smart man.
He is. Hi, Dad. He doesn't
right.
listen. He doesn't know how podcasts work. My mom listens, though. Hi, Mom. Please tell Dad I said hi.
Well, maybe you should share with him so he could like, comment, and subscribe on all of our social media platforms.
He doesn't know how to. Get over it.
Well, that's why you got to show him.
My mom does, though. She's a big supporter.
Okay. All right. These next two are probably going to be like as iconic as Zach's parents.
Side note, my mom is going to be ecstatic when she hears this.
Okay. Well, she's going to like my next pick, hopefully. Because let's face it, this woman's career towards the latter part of the 90s was kind of tapering off. And then all of a sudden, she released the album Believe, and she launched essentially the second phase of her career and like launched herself as an LGBTQ like icon and supporter. When she did the Believe album, she released the title track Believe, and it's been an anthem for them ever since. And actually, no pun intended, believe it or not, she released one of my favorite Christmas songs from this past year, and I hope I hear that more than All I Want for Christmas Is You.
You won't, but
can't stand that song. I know. It's called DJ Play a Christmas Song, and it's by the one and only Cher. Once again, there is no need to go over the accolades of Cher. She's been an icon since, was it the 60s, the 70s? It's the Sonny and Cher show. Like, she's a hell of an actress. If you've never seen the movie Burlesque, I mean, that's an incredible movie and an incredible vocal performance between her and Christina Aguilera. There's just so much that Cher has done throughout her career and just proven like somebody who is not only stayed almost true to her roots as like disco, but she's done it in a way that's made it accessible to people who may or may not like disco. Like, you can respect Cher. Like, for one of those artists who stays true to who they are, but kind of just evolves their sound, I think Cher is an amazing example of that. And just throughout the years, everything that she's done, Cher has to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's essentially lived an entire rock and roll lifestyle her whole life. She's number 2.
Want to hear a funny story?
Is it about your mom or dad?
Yes. That's the
Oh,
artist
then go for
it. That was the artist that they actually were both like, what? No. I'm like, wait, what? I would have thought for certain they would be like, yeah, Cher. But they both were actually like, and because they're not like rock purists either. They both were like, no. I'm like, are you kidding me? Dad, you love the movie Moonstruck. It's one of your favorites. How are you not rooting for Cher right now? I was devastated and shocked that they were pro Dave Matthews Band against Cher. So that was a surprise. But I'll save more thoughts on Cher in a little bit. Wink, wink.
All right. Well, there is number 2. And number 3, if this guy wasn't at least in the conversation when, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was, becoming a thing, I think that I'd be very surprised. Because while he already may be in for Black Sabbath, I think that he needs to be in on his own accord. He's done so much more for music than just Black Sabbath. I mean, there's no surprise here. It's Ozzy. Ozzy has to go in on his own. And maybe even some sort of, like, I don't know how they would do it, but like somehow bring Randy Rhoads into the conversation. You know more about that stuff than me.
Well, I mean, they already did because they inducted Randy Rhoads on his own as a sideman.
Oh, there you go.
They already did that. They don't need to do it again.
Well, there you go. But I mean, Ozzy Osbourne is just one of those icons in rock and roll. And this is actually one of the times you can separate the artist from the band. Like, you can separate Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath. Ozzy had a great run outside of Sabbath. Ozzy released some really iconic music outside of Sabbath. And I think that if you look at like some of the artists that are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, I think that Ozzy is a perfect example of somebody who needs to be inducted twice. So there you go. Those are my 3.
Can we talk about, or go ahead, repeat your 3 and then.
All right, so you got the Dave Matthews Band, Cher, and Ozzy.
All right, can we talk about Ozzy for a little bit before I get into my list? Because I'm so freaking torn.
How?
You know, I love Ozzy Osbourne. He was one of my first favorite artists growing up. Love him. But I voiced this to remind you, Matt, during that same episode of the Dave Matthews Band, when you named him the artist that should be inducted. I love Ozzy Osbourne. And yes, in fact, sometimes I lean more towards his solo stuff than even Black Sabbath sometimes. But I feel like all the reasons he should be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are because of the reasons Randy Rhoads is already in the Hall of Fame. Like, to me, like I was actually so ecstatic that Randy Rhoads got inducted, because to me it was his contributions to Ozzy's solo career that made me go, like, that made me fall in love with Ozzy as a solo artist. And to me, that was the way you paid respect to that catalog, was by inducting Randy. And then and I hate saying this out loud, but I feel like the other part of me is also like a lot of the things that you can say that Ozzy did for the industry, for hard rock and metal in general. Oh, God, I hate saying this out loud, but I think it should really be Sharon Osbourne who gets inducted for that. It's Sharon who helped revitalize Ozzy as a solo artist. It's Sharon who revolutionized hard rock touring with a festival called Ozfest. Now, yes, granted, you could argue that if we're going to go down the rabbit hole of giving managers credit for an artist's career, then you can say that about any artist on the list. But I love Ozzy, but I have a hard time him getting recognition when you could make the argument that it was others who did it and he just was the front man for it. Where am I wrong?
Where are you wrong? Randy didn't write all the songs. Randy performed
Neither
on
did
the
Ozzy.
songs. Right. I'm not saying that he did, but I'm saying that Ozzy was the one, you could make those arguments about Randy Rhoads. Okay, do you think Randy would have been anything without Ozzy?
That's a loaded question. It's hard to say.
Why couldn't it?
It's hard to say if he had saved that riff for Crazy Train for Quiet Riot when he was still in the band. If he never quit Quiet Riot, what could have been with that band? That's a what if episode right there. But you're going down the rabbit hole of talking about writing. I mean, that was a whole base of lawsuits that was caused by Bob Daisley, the original bassist in his solo band, over who really wrote the songs. But that's a loaded question as to whether Randy would be anything about Ozzy. Would Ozzy be anything about Randy?
Yes.
Oh, that was a little too confident of an answer there.
He had a career after Randy. Like
because
No More Tears.
Because of
No More Tears was the thing. Like Zakk Wylde was a phenomenal guitarist. So yes, his career continued without Randy.
But who would have? I don't know if it would have jump started without Randy and Sharon.
It doesn't matter. Ozzy was still the one out there performing. Yes, Randy performed. I would say that there's a support system behind Ozzy. There's no doubt about it. Every artist has one. But in the end, who was the one out there doing the work, putting his neck out there? It was Ozzy. Ozzy was the metal icon coming out of Black Sabbath. Ozzy was the one who brought the name. Like if the Randy Rhoads band was a thing that happened, who the hell was Randy Rhoads before he was with Ozzy? Ozzy established the name Randy Rhoads. Ozzy brought fame to Randy Rhoads' name and brought attention to Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads became something bigger because of Ozzy. Ozzy was the one who recruited him.
Bold claims, but can't 100% disagree either. But anyway, so let me get into my three then.
All right.
So the first one I already kind of alluded to that I was going to potentially drop them here when you said you were surprised to see them. Mind you, this is not the first time they've been nominated, but it's also understandably easy to forget the influence Jane's Addiction had in rock music, especially in the 90s. Mainly because right as they were really getting things rolling, they broke up. Nothing Shocking and Ritual de la Habit were two huge albums and important for the alt rock scene. I mean, what Perry Farrell, Dave Navarro, and Jane's Addiction were doing even before they recorded those albums, like how they were cultivating like almost like a cult-like following and adding in a lot more different types of art and just entertainment within the shows, like almost cabaret kind of style to the shows. And then the types of musics that they were blending together, it really ended up helping define what alt rock music sounded like in the 90s. And plus, Mountain Song, just a hell of a good song. And yeah, unfortunately, it's also a band that when after they reunited in 97 and kind of became in and out of inactivity, it definitely tarnished the band's legacy because it wasn't, the music that they were producing wasn't really all that great compared to the first two albums. And they would go years of touring and then years of not touring and just making fans go, are they even still together? Who's even in the band anymore? Eric Avery going in and out of the band. And even currently right now, it's a little confusing as to what Dave Navarro's role in the band is. I mean, initially he was just sitting out of touring because of suffering from long-term COVID. But then like the way that Perry Farrell was like, oh yeah, we're working on new music. And Dave's welcome to join us in the studio if you'd like. It's like, wait, well, isn't he still in the band? Why wouldn't he be in the studio? So unfortunately, like that's also part of the charm of Jane's Addiction is that unpredictability in a way. But going back also to not only those first two albums, but also a little tour called Lollapalooza. I mean, I talked about how Sharon really influenced, it became a huge influence in changing the scene of hard rock touring. But you could argue that Lollapalooza, before it became a weekend festival, revolutionized touring, period. The way that it not only brought multiple bands on the same day and same bill to cities across the country, but it did so like bringing different genres. You had everyone from Alice in Chains to Ice Cube to Living Colour to Nine Inch Nails. I mean, it was the tour that really helped break Rage Against the Machine to a larger audience. I mean, it was known for being literally any kind of band, no matter what genre it was, could be on this tour. You could make the argument that like it set the tone for what even the big weekend festivals ended up being, with how like Bonnaroo and the current version of Lollapalooza and even Coachella, how before Lollapalooza, a tour or a festival had one genre of rock or one genre of music, maybe a few little different bands. Lollapalooza changed it. We're like, no, this is going to be a smorgasbord of all types of music, and you're going to discover something new. So, and that's all because of Jane's Addiction, and all because of Perry Farrell, more specifically too. So I think Jane's Addiction really, rightfully so, deserves to be nominated, as well as deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, frankly. So that's my first pick, Jane's Addiction. Go ahead.
Hold on a second. Hold on. So you mean to tell me, because they made a smart business decision and launched Lollapalooza on their initial farewell tour, you mean to tell me that Jane's Addiction needs to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How about Lollapalooza belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like Woodstock.
Hold on, but I'm not saying it's just because of Lollapalooza that Jane's Addiction needs to be in the Hall of Fame. The actual music that they produced on those first two albums, as well as the scene that they created early in their career, even if they never reunited after that 1991 breakup and farewell tour, in fact, I kind of wish they never did reunite, that early period alone justifies them at least being nominated, if not even inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's my first pick. First pick.
All right.
I already know I'm not going to win you over there, but first pick. Second pick. This is another band that I kind of, in the same vein as Jane's Addiction, you kind of wish they could just called it quits earlier on, because the more they continued on throughout the years, they definitely tarnished their legacy and career. I mean, right now, they're on their umpteenth farewell tour, and there's not even an original member on stage.
Oh, up until then, I was going to say Kiss isn't nominated.
They're already in the Hall of Fame, sir. I'm talking about Foreigner. And it's just tough. I mean, and that one's going to be a shit show if they do get inducted, because you're going to have a lot of debates as to who actually should be in the Hall of Fame, which member and whatnot. And there's just tons of drama as to like who's still in the band, who's not. But at the end of the day, in the 70s and 80s, they just had a ton of big hits and great songs too. I mean, Cold as Ice alone still just freaking just damn good song. And then, you got even Jukebox Hero, which again, there's a little bit of cheesiness to it, but still great freaking songs. Hot Blooded. I mean, just the album Double Vision alone is just freaking, it feels like a first time. Like, there's just a great classic rock songs. And then even as they got into the 80s, the way that they changed into the more softer rock stuff, If I Want to Know What Love Is, I mean, it's just one of those bands that you forget how many great songs that they had, and how the way that they wrote their songs really influenced bands after them moving on.
Want you to show me.
Just cueing the choir now to sing along with it. So,
I feel what love is.
Yeah, originally I wasn't sure if I was going to pick Foreigner, but I was like, I mean, they're still one of the best-selling bands of all time. I mean, 80 million records worldwide. 37
Now
alone.
you sound like me.
I know. I'm going down the Matt Gamba route of just throwing out stats here. And I really do think that Mick Jones does not get enough credit for just his songwriting. So I feel like Foreigner really should get into the Hall of Fame. So that's my second pick. And the third one, again, I normally don't like to repeat a pick that Matt says. But come on, fucking Cher. Put some respect in her name and get her into the Hall of Fame, you cowards. How is she not in the Hall of Fame already? Like, and this is where I think I hinted earlier where this is me going to be a bit of a hypocrite because I normally don't like to, in these Rock Hall themed episodes, choose artists who flat out said, no, screw you. I don't want to be in your Hall of Fame anyway. Cher recently even said, screw you. You can go F yourself, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, for not inducting me sooner. But she really should be in the freaking Hall of Fame. For all the reasons Matt said. Even just if I could turn back time. That song alone, freaking great. And the way she reinvented herself with Believe. Like, and just the way she's reinvented herself, period, throughout the decades. And if you want to talk about a singer who, even though she's pop and disco, is the epitome of just that rock and roll attitude and spirit. The I don't care what you want me to do. I will do what I want and you'll like it, damn it. It's freaking Cher. And she's been doing it now for decades. And a quick little side story. Right before the pandemic, my wife, Jen, won tickets to see Cher live at Madison Square Garden. And initially it was like, yes, that's exciting. Oh my God, that's going to be so much fun. And, we're both excited. Then Jen suddenly goes, wait a minute. I should probably take my mom. She loves Cher. I should be a good daughter to take her. I'm like, stop. Fine. Yes, you're right. You should be a good daughter and take her. And ever since then, I've been very jealous of my mother-in-law. I bring that up not just because I want to highlight how jealous I am of my mother-in-law. This is a parental episode, in case you couldn't tell. But I say that because Cher put on such an amazing show that my wife still talks about how she is in awe of, for someone at her age to still be putting on that level of an energy of a show and just be that entertaining and still also sound so good live. It's just a testament to how we really should be paying even more respect to Cher than she gets. And she gets a lot of respect, but she is a phenomenal artist who, like, regardless of whether it is her music or her just spirit and approach to music, she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and she's influenced so many artists. So, third pick, Cher. There's the recap. Got Jane's Addiction, Foreigner, and Cher. So, Matt, before we move on to our next list, I think it's fair to say that Cher is going to be in the final three of who should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. I'm
trying to think of the famous Zach Shaw compromise here. Well, let me ask you, Matt, between my final two, actually, I was going to say, it doesn't sound like you agree with Jane's Addiction.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
Even though I think more so than Foreigner. Out of curiosity, between Dave Matthews Band and Ozzy, who should get in?
Both.
If you had to
on
pick
my
one,
list, so obviously.
If you had to pick one. No. Who before the other? If
one before the other, huh?
If you had only one spot on a boat as the cruise ship that you're on is sinking, we can't afford the rights to name the actual ship, and you can only let Ozzy or Dave Matthews Band on your boat.
We can induct Ozzy into the Dave Matthews Band.
That's not how this works, Matt. In case you couldn't hear where this is going, you're only getting one. But if you had to pick one, the new theme of the episode, if you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one of my three.
Like, are you really that on the fence between Dave Matthews Band and Ozzy?
Yeah. Because they're both on my list, and they're both that good, and they both need to be in the Hall of Fame, Ozzy twice.
My compromise would be, well, clearly Cher. Cher, Jane's Addiction, and you kind of won me over of Ozzy.
All right, we'll do Ozzy. Sorry, 7 pieces of Dave Matthews.
Trust me, my dad's disappointed.
They're playing as the ship goes down.
They probably are. I mean, they got the fiddle. Doom, 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 doom. Sorry, it's getting like lower as they're sinking into the water. All right, so the 3 2024 nominees who should get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame first: Cher, Ozzy Osbourne, Jane's Addiction. We're locking it in, right?
I guess.
Locking it in. Now, let's play the political game, damn it. Who are the 3 nominees from 2024 who will most likely get into the Hall of Fame? If we had to predict which way the Hall of Fame was going to lean towards, who are the three that are going to get into the Hall of Fame? Now, I'm going to first also add on here that, truth be told, this is actually probably a harder list than the who should.
Nope.
Now, to me, because I literally look at this list and I can see a reason for every artist on this list as to why I can see like what's going to sway the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame voters to get them in. I can see every single reason behind each one, but it sounds like you're more confident. So Matt, you go first.
Yep.
Who are your three?
Number one, Cher.
You think she's a sure thing?
Yep. Number one, Cher. If not, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has a fucking problem. Number two.
No more reasoning. Just go right into it.
Nope. Just right into it. Number two. It's Miss All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah.
There's no way around this. She's in. If she's not in, I'm going to probably look up the reasons why she's not in. And it's not because she's not rock and roll. It's some other stupid reason. I guarantee it.
I actually think the stupid reason for why she might not get in is because the voters are going to be sick and tired of hearing All I Want for Christmas Is You. I actually think that could backfire on her. No. At least for her first year.
No.
Just throwing that devil's advocate there. Continue, though.
And number three, because there has to be some different sound that has to come into people getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think in their own right, they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't want to say that they didn't have a great career, because they have. And they've brought a lot of respect to the funk game. I think Kool and the Gang is number three.
Look at you giving Kool and the Gang some love.
I mean, they're from Jersey. You've got to. Born and bred Jersey City. I think that they are very much so deserving as one of those under the radar inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Whether you know it or not, every bass player can probably look back to funk and say, you know what? Those are the guys that made me want to play bass. Those are the guys that got me into the rhythm game. And I very heavily believe that Kool and the Gang had a lot to do with that. Not to mention all of their hits that they've put out over the years. Like any of your stereotypical funk hits, it's Kool and the Gang. I think that these guys are very, very deserving of being in the Rock and Roll Hall.
Well, first off, let's clarify. Every one of these nominees deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
If you want to play the political reason.
There's a chance. You think that this, because mind you, Kool and the Gang have been nominated numerous times before. You think this is the year?
I think this is the year. I think that they're that under the radar entry into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So those are my three. There's no explanation that's needed. Cher, Mariah Carey, and then Kool and the Gang. And I shouldn't have even had to sell Kool and the Gang that much.
But here we are.
But I think that this is their year.
So this is my three. I'm going to start off. I really want to be delicate in how I say this. Because I'm not trying to downplay her contributions to music, but I think Sinead O'Connor is a sure thing, not because of her music. I mean, I think you can make the argument that they'll attribute the risk that she took by being so vocal against certain patriarchs. I mean, ripping the photo of the Pope, which at the time was very controversial on SNL, but in hindsight has been kind of applauded. I think, though, more so, and I'm trying to be careful how I say this, but I feel like the Grammys kind of helped solidify this in the fact that she got such a huge tribute with Annie Lennox singing half of her cover of Nothing Compares to You. For many, many years after the Pope photo ripping incident, Sinead O'Connor was the butt of jokes. Unfortunately, her health, mental health in particular, derailed her career and derailed her, period, like in many ways, to the point that a lot of people in the music industry and in news publications who should have been a little bit more gentle or a little bit better in understanding were not, and kind of ran with it. And again, like I said, she was the butt of jokes. And then she died and committed suicide because of her mental health issues and just her health issues. And I think there's a sense of guilt that's latent on a lot of people in the music industry and just in fans in general, that they really should have been more sensitive, or they really should have been more understanding. And instead of rushing to be like, oh, there's Sinead O'Connor going crazy again, it's like hey guys, we should really be like looking out for Sinead O'Connor. Like, she's legit putting herself in harm. Let's not just stand and watch. Unfortunately, it took her death to make a lot of people go, oh, no, guys, not only did we mess up here, but she really was talented. This is an artist that we really gave the raw end of the stick to. So I think a lot of people are going to be swayed towards nominating her this year. I mean, I could be wrong, I think, but I have a feeling that she will be inducted into Hall of Fame this year. I think that's a good bet. So that's my first pick. Downer, I know. Ugh. Second pick. So this one I feel a little weird and odd with, because, I don't dislike this artist, but I'm not a huge fan of this artist. In fact, I've seen this artist now live twice, opening for others. Once with you, Matt, when we saw him opening for Guns N' Roses. And both times that I've seen him live, I went, meh. But in the end of the day, Lenny Kravitz had hits. Huge hits in the 90s and early 2000s. Are You Gonna Go My Way? I Want to Fly. It Ain't Over Till It's Over. It ain't over. Even his cover of American Woman was huge. And he really kind of paved the way for a lot of young artists who felt they had to either be in the rock spectrum or in the R&B spectrum. He really did kind of he brought back that Prince and Hendrix kind of soulful vibe to rock and roll, and has kept it going now for many decades. And on top of that, I feel like this is his year, because he made actually a comment recently how I was like, I don't, not saying that I want the attention, but I really don't get invited to BET awards or to awards that celebrate the contributions of African American musicians, even though, dare I say, I have done a lot, especially for rock and roll and for all types of genres. And I think that made a lot of people go you know what? Crap, Lenny Kravitz has got a point. He's done a lot for music, and he's still going too. So I feel like I could see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame going, you know what? We need to pay respect to Lenny Kravitz and remind people of how big of an artist he really is and how influential he is on a lot of different types of artists as well. So I think this is his year. I could see him getting in. So that's my second pick. And the third pick, I'm kind of in a tie amongst a bunch of artists.
You can't name them all.
I'm going to do a 5-way tie. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for joining us.
But it's just it's tough, because I literally could see a reasoning.
Hold on.
What do you mean?
You made me pick between the Dave Matthews Band and Ozzy, and you held me at that.
I'm picking one. Don't worry. I'm just saying this is hard, because I can see, I'm literally I'm envisioning a dartboard with strings attached to all the theories. I don't actually think it's Mariah Carey. The more I think about it, I actually think All I Want for Christmas Is You is going to backfire on her. I can almost see them. I could see Peter Frampton maybe getting in for the sideman influence for all he's done for with his solo albums, but also just what he's done for other artists as well. Because that's someone that people forget how good of a guitarist he is. But I can also see them doing Mary J. Blige, continuing the blend of more hip hop and R&B artists into the Hall of Fame. But my gut is telling me to kind of agree with you that this is the year Cher is going to get in finally. And I also think part of it's because they're oh, Cher, you told us to go F ourselves? No, right back at you. Guess who's getting in now? Just for being sassy. I could just see them doing it out of spite now.
So then by that notion, Oasis should get in too.
Well, no, but Cher's different. Oasis, different level. Although, yes, Liam Gallagher has also been very vocal to say, screw you, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I think this is the year Cher gets in. All right, so that's my three. See, I'm only doing three. I wasn't going to do a tie, asshole. Well, those two I think are going to definitely get in are Sinead O'Connor, Lenny Kravitz, and Cher. So, once again, Cher has made it to the final three. for those who are not keeping track, what makes this list different is that this is not this is who I want to get into Hall of Fame. Like, this is who we actually think Vegas odds has the better chance of getting into the Hall of Fame. I feel like Sinead O'Connor I think the Grammys proved my point that people feel terrible for how they treated her for so many years. I'm not saying she deserves it more than Lenny Kravitz, or even more so than any of your picks. But I feel like if I had to choose between her and Lenny Kravitz for my list, it's probably going to be Sinead O'Connor. From your list, dare I say, I don't know if you had one, if there's one that you'd be like, all right, get on the boat. Sorry, other artist.
Yep.
I feel, as much as I feel like All I Want for Christmas Is You could back by Mariah Carey, I think her odds of getting in over Kool and the Gang are much greater.
Yes.
Sorry, Kool. The Gang, whatever. You knew what you were getting into. No one loves the Gang. No love for the Gang.
Let them hear you say that. We're only about 25 to 30 minutes away from them.
They moved out of Jersey. They're not. Actually, they might still be in Jersey City. If they are, then good for them.
Guys, I got your back.
I'm more curious as to how like all the crybabies who are like rock purists are going to react when Mariah Carey gets inducted. That's going to be fun to watch. Be like, oh, the tears are coming now.
I've been thinking this for a couple years now. It shouldn't be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It should just be.
You agreeing with Billy Corgan? You don't think they should be called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
The name doesn't make sense anymore.
Did you not listen to my quote from John Mulaney? It's
right.
Rock is the state of mind. It is pop music. It's just an attitude, more so than the actual specific genre.
Pop music. Like, you're talking about like all genres. You're talking about recorded music. You're talking artists that have had impacts in music history. Like, it should be some other name.
I'm fine.
I don't know what the name would be, but it would be something else. Like, you call it the Music History Hall of Fame or the Music Hall of Fame,
because that's sexy. That's gonna get people to come to Cleveland and check out a museum.
Why people go to like the Guggenheim, the Smithsonian? These aren't sexy names either.
But
But how's it different? How's it different?
It's kind of Smithsonian has a nice ring to it. I don't mind it. To me, I've accepted a long time ago to try to pigeonhole what rock and roll music, what rock is, to even try to pigeonhole what pop music is futile and ridiculous. It's constantly evolving, and to say that rock is only music with instruments is ridiculous in my mind. I agree that it's a state of mind more so than an actual genre of music.
But that's not what it is on the surface, and that's not what the intention of the name was.
No, that I don't know if I agree with either. But anyway, so the final three for those who we think will get inducted into the Hall of Fame: Cher, Mariah Carey, and Sinead O'Connor.
Yep.
Is that where we've landed? This is the year of Cher, apparently. Should we riot if Cher doesn't get inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I don't know if we would riot. I mean, I don't think two people are a riot. I think that's just causing a disturbance.
Well, in Cleveland, it could be considered a riot. Depends on how loud we are. If you believe in it, it's a riot.
If you believe in life after love.
Side note, very random, I know, but did you watch when Cher got like the John F. Kennedy Center recognition?
No.
They had Adam Lambert do a cover of Believe, but he changed it into a ballad. And it is the most beautiful cover I think I've ever heard. Very side random moment. Do yourself a favor, everyone. Now that we're close to the end of this episode ending, go check it out because it's just a beautiful cover. That's all. There was really no support to that. That was just more of a nice little plug for Adam Lambert in case you were like, I get it. He's with Queen now, but like, is he really that good? Like, yeah, no, he's that good. Check it out, that cover.
Yes, he is.
So go check that cover out and then come back to this YouTube channel, as well as on all of our socials, Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, the TikTok. I know that sounds weird when I say it like that, but I'm home. And let us know if you agree with our picks. Is there an artist is there a nominee that you think, no, they should be in the Hall of Fame before anyone else? Do you think someone has better odds of getting in this year that we didn't name? Let us know. All those socials. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more episodes like this where we just go back and forth on just everything. And a major special shout out to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
If you've been looking for some beard balms and oils and you just don't know where to get them from, log on to Lucky13, beardco.com, and check out all the products that they have up on there. They are some of the finest qualities beard balms and oils that are on the market today, including our very own that we have with them. It's called the Lemmy. It's in tribute of Lemmy to Motorhead, and it smells of bourbon, tobacco, cola, and leather. It is phenomenal. It feels amazing, and we're giving you 10% off of everything that they have on their site. All you have to do is log on to Lucky13, beardco.com. Go shopping, throw whatever you want in your cart, and use the code EFP10 at checkout. Get 10% off of your entire order. Lucky13, beardco.com.
Little side tangent. You want to talk about someone who should be in the Hall of Fame? Freaking Lemmy and Motorhead. I get it, they've been nominated, and I get why it's going to be complicated because there's multiple members. But I honestly think even if you just give an honorary induction to Lemmy, that's well deserved and beyond overdue. In fact, I'm going to make a little bet. If Lemmy gets inducted, like kind of like similar to Randy Rhoads, in an honorary kind of way, and it's a surprise induction this year, we will give an additional 5% off of the beard oil, as well. Yeah, we'll talk to Ed about it, as well as a special 5% off of any of our own Epic Footnote merch. I'm talking about hats, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, stickers. Go to our Linktree page, which you can find on any of our social media pages, homepages, bios, and you'll find all that cool merch. It's a good way to just support us. Good way to just let your friends know. I like to listen to Matt and Zach talk a little too long about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like I said, if Lemmy ends up getting inducted this year, we'll give an additional 5% off of that merch. That's a little promise right there. I know Matt's getting really annoyed at me about this, but let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen, guys.
It's too expensive. You're giving away the barn.
Let's do it. Let's get Lemmy in the Hall of Fame. Thanks so much for listening, and we hope you join us for another episode real soon.
See ya.